In my mind, there's one choice for roofing around here, and I'd go with your best choice. Whether it's time to replace your roof or repair it, Best Choice Roofing provides top-notch roofing services tailored to meet the unique needs of Detroit homes and businesses. They serve the region and inside the city of Detroit, too. You can find out more at bestchoiceroofing.com/Detroit. That's bestchoiceroofing.com/Detroit, or call 313-474-7031. That's 313-474-7031. Hello, everyone, and welcome to your Daily Detroit. It is Friday. We have made it to the weekend, July 25th, 2025. I am Jer Stays, coming to you from our studio at Techtown and patching in from points undisclosed west of Woodward is none other than Devon O'Reilly. How are you?
I'm doing well, Jer. I miss being at Techtown. How is it over there these days?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. The people here are beautiful. The streets are beautiful. The sunlight is beautiful. There are so many things happening nearby. We're going to have even more places to talk about that are opening. There's construction everywhere. There's like a 7-story research building going up. There's going to be like hundreds of apartments going in next door. You know, the energy is good over here.
I'm happy to hear that. I know, yeah, that Henry Ford development, I can see it from the freeway. It's going to be so impressive. So I'm glad to see things are going well over there in Techtown, and you're staying, I guess, relatively cool. It's going to be a scorcher this entire weekend and probably beyond.
Yeah, I do my best. The studio does have 2 walls that are all windows, so it's great for the plants. If I were a succulent, I'd be great.
If you could just suck up all that moisture.
Yeah, exactly. Just plant me on the studio table. But, you know, one of the things I wanted to share with you is, we're talking about, we always like to start the show with where we've been. And I think I want to share with you an old favorite, my friend.
Okay, let's see if it's one of my old favorites.
Mercury Bar.
I like it. Go on.
Okay, so here's the thing. I went to an event at the Detroit Athletic Club this week that got me in my feelings. And instead of packing down a couple old fashions, I went for a giant plate of Tater Tots. And the best Tater Tots that you're going to find in the city of Detroit, in my opinion, always have been at Mercury Bar, which is this place on, people don't know, it's in Corktown, Michigan. I think it's like 14th Street, right near Michigan Central. It's been there now for quite a while. It's got a big bull out front, like a big metal bull.
Yeah, it's an OG of Corktown.
Yeah, and people tell me, make sure to highlight the places that you've been to before, or that you maybe don't get the same shine. And I think that I'm going to make sure to shout this out, because sometimes you just need some mental health tater tots. And I had that with a blue cheeseburger, and it was everything that I could have ever wanted. It's like, I was reminded of like how great simple food can be. And it wasn't crazy expensive either.
Yeah, I love Mercury, and I think it almost gets forgotten sometimes in all the new stuff that's opened up. But they've stayed relevant. They've got a great menu, and I think a really unique one. I mean, you mentioned the tots and the burgers, which are their standouts. They also have hot dogs. You could go and get their kind of gourmet style, but they keep it pretty plain. I love a good fish sandwich there. They do a good fish sandwich, yeah. And they're also known for their shakes, too. They have like boozy shakes you can get. I know a lot of people go there for the boozy shakes. And then the Maury salad. I have to give them a shout out because they have a Maury salad, which is, that's important. And it's very affordable. I'm going to tell you right now, Jer, their Maury salad is $11. That is almost unheard of these days.
That is amazing. By the way, a listener wrote in and kind of shamed you for not having the Maury salad when you went to the Edsel Ford house. They were specific. Like,
it was an error. It was an error. It was an unforced error. Instead I got the shrimp po' boy. I was drawn to the fact that it was a special, and the waiter steered me in that direction. But I should have got the Maurice. So I missed that. I did miss that. But I will be back to Mercury for their Maurice. I was somewhere hoping to get a Maurice this week, and I assumed because it's such a venerable Detroit establishment that they would have a Maurice. They did not. And that was the aforementioned Detroit Athletic Club.
Are you telling me that you and I were both at the Detroit Athletic Club, didn't even cross paths?
It must have been. I mean, I was there. I mean, I wasn't there for an event. I was there for more of a business lunch, or as I like to call a power lunch there, which, the DAC as a power lunch location is pretty unparalleled. I mean, if you're in I'll even say our line of work, Jer, you see a lot of familiar faces, end up shaking a lot of hands, saying hello. It's a little bit of a networking event, hence the power lunch. But the DAC does not have a Maurice salad, so I had to go in a completely different direction. I was very happy with my food, but I thought they'd have a Maurice. They do not.
The DAC is a place that people either they really know it or they really don't. And I actually took someone to their first ever event at the DAC, and it reminded me, and I think maybe we should talk for a second a little bit about it, because people will see it, and I'm sure they have a lot of questions about it. Now, full disclosure, I've never been a member, but I've, through my day jobs in the past, have done a lot of different work events and things there. And in a lot of ways, the Detroit Athletic Club is kind of the center of like Detroit business in a lot of ways. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, we have to acknowledge the fact that it is, I would say, monetarily restrictive as far as being able to get in there. And I think
That's an
only
understatement. That's an understatement.
it's only gotten more so in the years. I was actually a member for about 5 years, and let me tell you, this is my hack, Jared, which people who know this or have been listening long enough know about me. Is my hack was, yes, the DAC was expensive, but I was a member when I lived downtown and had no car or insurance payment, and that was like my offsetting. So that was the only way I was able to do it. And COVID hit, and it just didn't make sense to carry that membership. So I will say, it's an expensive membership. So what the DAC is like one of those things with a boat where it's, you don't need to have a boat, you just need to have a friend with a boat. So in my right, like that's the saying, I think they say. And so for me, that's kind of the DAC thing. For you too, it's like, we don't need to be members of the DAC. You just need to know someone who has a membership, because then they'll take you to lunch. You can get drinks there with them. You can take in all the sites there. So that's the way I do it now. But it is really cool. I mean, the DAC is over 120 years old. It's its members have included all number of titans of industry and sports figures throughout the years. It is a beautiful facility. Albert Kahn designed. It was one of the first places to have a pool on like the fourth floor, which is really crazy. And back in like early 1900s, they had a pool on the fourth floor. They have a beautiful stadium club up there. It's really cool if you can get an invite to the DAC. As I said, not only is it monetarily restrictive, one of the things that one of my bugaboos when I was a member was the dress code. You have to be dressed appropriately. You can't decide on a whim on a Saturday you're going to pop into the DAC unless you are appropriately attired.
That is true. In fact, I had forgotten to tuck my shirt all the way in, my dress shirt, and I was strongly reminded of my error as soon as the doorman saw me. And, I'm just a big man, so sometimes that happens. So I was strongly reminded. So I had to fix myself and get myself together. That is one thing about it, is that it definitely has like the strong dress code. So you need to be at least business casual. If you're a woman, your dress needs to be down like around your knees. Like those kind of things are part of it. No hats, that kind of stuff. But I think it's worth it for a visit if you've got a friend, because it's so old. It's got so much historic architecture to it, so many details, that just to go see that for an evening, I think is worth it, to go see what that is. And then if you ever get a chance to have a drink on the rooftop, which actually can see into Comerica Park, that rooftop cigar bar, which is kind of new, is really a great view of the city.
It really is the birthplace of the last word. So that's pretty cool too. So you get a last word if you're up there. But yeah, you just have to plan for it, because I'll tell you the big no-no that you didn't mention is denim is absolutely 100% forbidden. And in today's day and age, I think it's very common even for people to be out on a Saturday night or Friday night in Detroit. Maybe, as a guy, you have a nice button-up shirt on, or you have a polo or what have you, but maybe you got some nice jeans on too. Doesn't matter how nice your jeans are. I've got an anecdotal story. I'm going to say it, Jer. I have it on extremely good authority that Dan Gilbert himself was denied entry due to the denim policy.
Oh my gosh.
I am very serious. You can corroborate this with the listener, with some listeners who may have heard this as well. I think that they did rectify it. They were able to procure a pair of slacks for Mr. Gilbert, but I just want to let you know they are They are absolutely no wiggle room on that. Same rules for Dan, same rules for Jer.
Now, the athletic club also has a very mixed history because in the past it was a place where women could only use certain entrances and they couldn't be members. And I was catching up a while ago. We had Santil Jenkins, former city council president and current candidate for mayor, was in the studio. We were catching up. And one of the things that she reminded me is when she worked for Marianne Mahaffey, there was a protest back in 75 because they wouldn't let women in. And Marianne Mahaffey, who was the city council president at the time, blocked the front door of the DAC with women's shoes. So nobody could get in or get out. And so that way it basically forced them to allow women into the club and allow women into the club through the main entrance. And then they turned around and offered her membership as city council president. And then she declined, which is kind of hilarious in its own right.
Wow. Well, that's interesting. You need people like Marianne Mahaffey, and I appreciate her standing on her laurels. I like it. Sounds like the expression. I wouldn't want to join any club that would have me as a member. Sounds like she kind of took that ethos. So no, that's great. But yeah, I mean, it's got a really great history. It's got a very, like anything else, a complicated history, but it is a cool place to check out if you have the chance. Again, it's not one of those things you can just walk in. I hate to say it, some places are like that, and you just have to know a member. And there's plenty of members out there. I bet more people than you realize are members of the DAC. But if you have the opportunity, take it. It's a beautiful space, and kind of one of our kind of hidden by design gems in Detroit.
If you want to recreate this experience, and you can do it wearing a t-shirt, as far as I care, let's talk about the Last Word cocktail really quick, because people, I think, might forget about it. We blew right past it, but it's something I've had a number of times where I think it's equal gin, green chartreuse, maraschino liqueur, and lime juice.
Yeah, it's, to me, I'm going to give my 2 cents on this is I will drink this and I will enjoy it, but it has to be done right. It has to be done right. And if you don't get those parts right, it can become, like, to me at least, undrinkable, because I'm normally not a gin drinker. I'll drink any delicious cocktail. But getting that equal part of gin and chartreuse and not too much lime juice, I've had Last Words that were like incredibly citrusy and sour, and it just ruined it. Or sometimes, too gin forward. The balance is so key. But if you do it right, it's just a very delicious cocktail, a great thing to sip any time of year. But it's a great summer cocktail as well.
Yeah, the ingredients are key. Don't cheap out on the gin. It was actually created, I believe, in 1916. So the cocktail is more than 100 years old, and it was a staple of Prohibition. So yeah, something to check out in Detroit's history, where the movers and shakers shake and move. All right, I think this is one we should talk about for a little bit, my friend, because according to the Detroit News, a group called the Let's Open Northville, after winning a legal battle to remove street barriers in downtown Northville, is now seeking to eliminate all outdoor street dining that occupies parking spaces. The group claims these dining areas violate a recent court order allowing street closures only for special events, and argues that pre-COVID, businesses expected street parking to be available. City officials and Downtown Development Authority disagree, saying that they've already complied with the court order by removing bollards. They contend that outdoor dining and parking spaces has been part of Northville's streetscape for over a decade, supports small businesses, and enhances downtown vibrancy. The city is considering, according to the news, legal options to appeal the original ruling. How do you feel about this? What say you, Devon?
I think I speak for the Daily Detroit audience. I mean, closing down streets and opening up, having places like that, having social districts, I think is right in the wheelhouse of the heart of what Daily Detroit's all about, and our listeners. I think you would agree. So any attempt to push more cars through and say, let's open up and have more cars driving down streets in the middle of downtowns. I think if we put this to a poll on Daily Detroit, it'd be like 95% would be against opening up more streets in downtown. So I don't think I'm in the minority at all when I say it's it's dumb. It's just it's a backward thinking idea, and I think this is a case of maybe the silent minority, people making a stink about something that isn't really a problem. And I think more places should actually close down streets and create social districts, and it is helpful for businesses because it allows for more dining, more outdoor dining. It allows for more walkability. I think it encourages people to not just go to one place, park, walk to a place, and then walk to their car. It encourages people to kind of walk around and frequent more businesses when they are in that district or in that area. So to me, all the positives outweigh any kind of negatives you could say from closing down, a street or two in the main drag of a bustling town like Northville. I mean, Northville is, one of the towns that people look to as far as an example of how to do kind of a quaint, walkable, mixed-use downtown right, and they're kind of like cutting off their nose to spite their face here, I think.
This definitely feels like a loud minority kind of situation, but also a powerful one when you're dealing with some business owners and some residents. The thing about this to me, and I am not a Northville resident, but I've got family out that way, so I've been around there, and I am so tired of Metro Detroit pretending that it's 1955 when it's 2025. Like it being 19, it is not 1955 anymore. Metro Detroit needs to realize that in order to keep people, attract people, and do things, we need to act like our age, and act out like our year, which is 2025, which means, having like interesting walkable streets, having places that people can meet and mingle. And that doesn't mean shutting every road down. I'm not some extremist like that. But like to go farther, like they already won opening up those streets, then to go ahead and take away dining options, which by the way, turns tables for those businesses and creates additional seating for those businesses to make more money. You worked around and with small businesses for a long time, Devon. I think the numbers that like this doesn't really have a leg to stand on as far as like hurting businesses.
Yeah, I don't see that there. I just don't. I don't see the negatives they're saying. I know there are one-offs where there are a couple in any situation. When you have a bunch of businesses all in the downtown district, you're going to have a couple business owners who just don't like it because for whatever reason, they don't feel like it's benefiting them. So I get that. But again, I don't think that we change the rules to affect 10% of the business owners that don't like it. And I think overall statistics and studies and everything will tell you that this is overall good and encourages more business. I mean, I think of what I've heard as far as some of the complaints and someone saying, well, then people just get too frustrated and won't want to park farther away and walk. And I just think you drove out to Northville already. I don't think you're not going to dinner there because you have to park 2 more blocks farther. And where are you going? Like I don't see that. I can't wrap my head around that scenario. You went out on your night out, you drove out to Northville or maybe wherever you want to call it, and then you decided, nah, you know what? It's too hard to park. I'm going home. I don't buy that. So I'm hearing that as an excuse, and I just think it's a weak one.
Yeah, both the city government and the Downtown Development Authority are in line on this one. That'd be a good thing. And I don't think they want to see less tax receipts, right? Like if this was a net negative, they would have the data, wouldn't they?
Right.
Especially Downtown Development Authority.
Yes. The DDA should have the data to back this up. And I don't know. We'll see how long it lasts. And this is clearly a contentious thing. And I think if the majority of businesses want something, I hope that they can find a way to make this happen because it's just a nicer downtown. I know some people who live in Northville and they're completely against this reopening, as they want to call it. And they liked what they had with the walkable downtown.
Feedback, as always, dailydetroit@gmail.com. All right, really quick. There is even more poll data. It seems like a poll-a-palooza from the folks at Target Insights over at Deadline Detroit. We wanted to cover it because it's newsworthy. I get a little bit of flack sometimes for when we talk about the governor's race, thinking that we're like pro Duggan or pro Benson or pro any one candidate, and we're not. But it is newsworthy and notable to see an independent candidate go this strongly, and I think that's part of why we're talking about it, because the new data that's come out shows that Duggan's support in the city of Detroit has gone up from 41% to 52% in the city of Detroit. He now has more than half of voters. support in the city of Detroit. Benson has slipped from 36 to 33%. John James, a likely candidate for the Republican side, has 5% support. 10% are undecided. That's down from February as well. The poll has margin of error of plus or minus 5 percentage points. This is huge because, to me, and tell me if I'm crazy here, there is no path for Jocelyn Benson to become governor if the city of Detroit, the majority of the city of Detroit, is going to vote for Mike Duggan. And because this is normally a place that's like 90% plus or whatever Democratic. It basically effectively blocks Jocelyn Benson or any Democratic candidate at this point from becoming governor.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Jer. And it's just that's kind of the damning part of this for any other candidate is if Duggan's going to be over 50% in Detroit, and we're talking about, there's just not a path where someone on the Democratic side can overcome that in other areas. Because, without getting too into the weeds on, the political maps, there's just not that population density other places. And it would require somebody like a Benson to just run up the score in suburbs or in Ann Arbor or other kind of progressive strongholds. And it's really tough. It's one of those that the path for a Democratic candidate would be very, very narrow at that point if these numbers are in fact accurate and if they hold.
That's the thing, if they hold. And that's the key, is that this is how, if things stay as they are right now, they definitely could change. One thing in this data, and I'll link to it in the show notes, I thought was really interesting, is that, get this, 32% or a third of Detroit voters do not recognize her name or have no opinion of her. That means a third of Detroiters, even though she is the Secretary of State, have not heard her name. And on top of that, I believe she lives in the city, which is even wilder to me.
She does live in the city.
It's wilder to me, which tells me she's done a terrible job of reaching out into the neighborhoods and reaching out in the city. And she needs to do a lot of work really fast, because if she can't win Detroit, this is over as far as that goes. And it becomes how many votes is Duggan going to take out from the Republican question?
Yeah, that's exactly right. The fact that she lives in the city is a little problematic for her, because you think about Duggan's is the opposite problem. We've discussed this, Jer, is that he needs to get more name ID out Detroit into the farther reaches of northern Michigan and western Michigan. That's his task. If he can do that, he can win. But he needs better name ID in other parts of Michigan. And then she needs more name ID in Detroit. And at the end of the day, not to oversimplify, I think it's going to come down to which one does that better, frankly. Again, I don't want to dismiss the GOP candidate in James, but I'm doing it. I think the race comes down to who does that better. Can Benson get more name ID, get more people in Detroit to know her, or can Duggan get more people in West and North Michigan to know him?
What about some sort of surprise spoiler? Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist is running, but in the latest poll that I saw that included him, the race was, I think he only had like 7% support. Yeah,
he's got a tall hill to climb. I knew you were going to go there. I knew you were going to go there. It's like, what's going to happen? What's going to change the race that allows him to come in? He would have to really, really put himself out there, and he can. I know him. He can work his butt off. And so if he puts in the work and he outworks the others on the campaign trail, he can do it. But Mike Duggan is tough to outwork, I'll tell you. But I think Gilchrist has a chance.
All right. Well, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'll link to all the data in the show notes, and you can get into it. dailydetroit@gmail.com or 313-789-3211. Devon O'Reilly, always good to catch up with you.
You too, Jer. We got to do this in person sometime. And why don't you, try and figure out a time you can come out and we can do this in person at my location, and we can reveal about everything about it.
Yeah, we'll do it on video too, because it'll be gorgeous.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. We'll set that up soon.
All right, friends. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to our members on Patreon, patreon.com/dailydetroit. You may not agree with us, but we will tell it to you straight. We're not here working for anybody but you. So we give it to you straight and honest. Support us, patreon.com/dailydetroit. As always, dailydetroit@gmail.com for feedback. Reminder that August 9th, Saturday, August 9th, the afternoon, we're going to be doing a live show and backyard birthday bash at the Old Miami. Going to have an event up on Eventbrite in the show notes. You're going to want to RSVP. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to do a live podcast. It'll be great. Well, for now, I'm Jer Stays.
I'm Devon O'Reilly.
Thank you so much for listening. Remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around Detroit.